appointments I'd already made and stuff. It made me feel, I missed more work, I think, in the last 3 weeks than I missed in the last 30 years.
Let's say it.
Anyway, Elsie, I left my drink right there. Would you pass it down, please?
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
You can close.
All right, I show 7 o'clock. If we are ready over there, we will get started. I'm going to welcome Reverend Dill back and ask if he would say a blessing for us.
Yeah. Oh God, we give you thanks for the opportunity to do work that's beyond ourselves, work that that transcends who we are as people and is able to help a whole community and a whole town. We pray that you would be with those who are hurting, with those who are sick, and with those that feel they have no voice or have no way. Would you give them hope? Be with us tonight. Let us have your wisdom and all these things we ask. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, sir. First item on the agenda is the reading of the minutes from September 12th, 2022. They are in our packets. If you've had a chance to review them, I will entertain a motion.
I move that we adopt the minutes of 9/12/22.
Second.
Motion on the table is to adopt the reading of the minutes from September 12th, 2022. Is there any discussion, please? Thank you. All those in favor, raise your right hand, please. And thank you. The next item on the agenda is public session. We have 30 minutes allotted total, 5 minutes per citizen. If you have signed in, we would welcome your comments at this time.
Nobody signed in.
Just make sure that you sign in after you leave.
I signed, are we talking about?
We're talking about the list.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's fine.
I wasn't aware of that.
Please proceed.
So I emailed this to all of you, and I believe you, Mr. Mishu, and I've made a few copies, not enough for everybody, so if you don't like paper, pass it on and/or share. My printer is not so good, so I couldn't print everybody copies. My name is Eunice Lahmacher. I'm here representing NOAA, Naturally Occurring Affordable Homes, and our effort to save the alley. And I'm sorry I haven't been here in a long time. I do a few other things with my life as well. But I just wanted to keep you up to date on what's happening, and if you have any questions and if there's time for that, I'm happy to do that first. So all of the action is happening with Holiday Ventures, who is suggesting to work on the property, and you can see what Nathan gave me as well as his contact information. It's probably best for you to ask him first. But one thing that's holding us up, that we're not going to get any tax credits this year, but we can in 2023 and 24. And as you see, item number 1, by now our state should have told us what the qualified allocation plan is, and they are late. Apparently, and I'm learning just like you are, so this is news to me, apparently they're always late with that. So they're kind of waiting. So certainly no building will occur in 2022. But you can see some of the other stuff he's working on. I'll let you read through that. One of the things that we've learned, so I've spoken with both Representative Jerry Carter and Senator Thomas Alexander just to see if they could help us. And you'll see, if you have it in front of you, the second page of some of my interactions with Representative Jerry Carter. What is important on that page is the bottom email back from him. So I think it will be of no surprise to you that cities like Greenville and Charleston get almost all of the affordable housing tax credits. Why is that? They have a full-time mayor. They're a big city. They have people working on this. But, so we're never going to be a Greenville. And I understand that. I'm not asking you to be a Greenville. But one of the things those cities do that makes
cities more likely, or developments more likely to get the grant, is cities allocate some money towards the project from the city. Now, that could certainly be out of your budget, but it could be, as Mr. Mishu has said before, that you apply for one of those Appalachian Council of Government grants, which fund, infrastructure. So that's actually what I came to talk to you about today. It will help Nathan, or whichever developer you end up with, if Nathan decides not to do it, or for Holiday Ventures, although they are very interested, if you could allocate some funds. And so I asked Nathan to just look at, and that's back on the first page, what the costs are. Now, I don't have to tell you that any estimate of what something costs right now changes rapidly and wildly, and these are only estimates based on what's going on with the economy. So you already know that. But the spreadsheet at the bottom would be today, or when he gave it to me, which was probably last week. It would cost, so this is for the back end of the property. So currently, the back end is the wooded property. I think some of you have walked around the property. So the current plan that Holiday Ventures is working with is nobody who lives there now, this black neighborhood that's been there for generations, is not going to get uprooted. It gets to stay there while they're building affordable housing apartments that only people with affordable housing needs, so working class people get, not student apartments. Those people could then move into that, and then we can see about the rest of the property. So that's a good plan. I like that. I know you do too. You've said several times in these meetings you want to allocate some money. Makes the most sense to me personally that that's for infrastructure. So you see what some of the costs would be for just the infrastructure for that back end, that first part of the development. So I'd like to ask you if you'd put on an agenda, how much could we give to the property? So I've asked repeatedly with Noah, we'd like $1 million, but obviously you're the city council, right? So you decide. You might say, well, let's take care of the asphalt paving, that's $500,000. Or let's take care of the new outdoor amphitheater, a benefit for the entire community, not just the people who live in the alley. So I gave you these numbers so you have something to work with. Just as I'm sure you know, understand that by the time it's developed, those prices will change. But if you could say to Holiday Ventures, or you could set aside some of that ARPA money, or you could start the application for an, what's it called, ACOG grant, and you could have that money, that's going to make it more likely in 2023 and 2024 to get the tax credit, and we really need the tax credit. We're competing with Charleston, and Greenville and those big cities. Does that make sense, what I'm asking?
Yes.
Questions about that?
Thanks.
So the back page then is where I have that ask. Can you set aside some funds, pick an amount? And number two, I would suggest that you each, so I'm just a citizen, but you can say, hello, I'm calling, I'm Elsie Hayes, I'm a city councilman in Central, right? And I have become aware how the cap on the affordable housing tax credit has made affordable housing developments more competitive. Would you please consider raising the cap in 2023 or beyond, right? So all we're asking them is they set a cap of $20 million a year. That goes faster. The previous year they spent $30 million in affordable tax credits. They lowered the bar. In a time where we have more need for affordable housing in the city of Central than we have in probably the last 50 years. And I sent you also in the email a link where you can look up a housing report by Habitat for Humanity. But you probably all know rents are going up, the cost of housing is going up. So our workers, right? So people who work in the library, the school, right? The nurses' aides going to people's homes, they can't afford to live in Central. So what I'm asking you to tell Senator Alexander and Representative Carter is I have constituents who need an affordable home. I have a developer. I have property where the owner's willing to wait. I need you to raise the affordable housing tax credit. And Nathan and Holiday Ventures said that would be wonderful. It would make it lots less competitive. They would be able to get the tax credit then. So that's what he told me. Now you have Nathan's contact, you have Jerry Carter's contact, I believe in the email, or here, I put in Thomas Alexander's phone number. They like to talk to you. They like to know what you need. And you, because you're a city council person, have more power than all of us do. and you probably do too. I know Philip Mishu has talked to Jerry Carter many times about this very issue, so the three of us have all been engaged, but you're the council people. And then I know that, as you all know, getting an ACOG grant is not a simple process. It's lengthy, right? So I would say let's start that, right? We don't have the exact numbers yet, but you can, as a council, so maybe you can put it in a work session, you can say, well, let's have us work on site, gas, domestic, and sewer utility connections. Let's figure out how much it is. Nathan thinks it's $200,000, and let's put a grant together for that, right? So I want you to do that work and start that process, because by the time he's ready to build, if we start the grant, I don't have to tell you it'll be a year later, right? You do know that, right? You've worked with Philip enough, right? I've done these grants too, so. Any questions about that?
No, I will just say that I have had conversations with our congressional representatives about this, so more to come on that.
Yay, thank you. Well, I encourage the rest of you to do that. Mayor has the biggest power, so I appreciate that. And the affordable housing tax credit, raising that would help not just our city, but every city across the state. So this is an opportunity for you to do something for everybody who lives below whatever, 60,000 a year, right? Or whatever it is, 50,000 a year. That's a lot of people, right?
Thank you.
Thanks. I know I took a lot of time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've got a gavel, that's about the only thing I've got. Anyway, next item, anybody else on public comment? Thank you. Item number 3, receipt and disposition of petitions. 15 minutes total. Anything that you've received, Mr. Michaud?
None this time, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Reports from council committees. I start with planning. Ms. Bowers, please.
I would like to make a motion that we approve on first reading ordinance 11-14-2022 comp plan.
Second.
Motion on the table is to review and approve ordinance 11-14-2022 comp plan. Is there any discussion on that ordinance? All those in favor, raise your right hand, please. Thank you. Anything further, Ms. Bowers?
That's all.
Thank you. Streets and Public Safety, Mr. Moss, please.
I'd like to report that our solar speed radar has been installed on Gang Street and working great.
Got anybody yet?
I don't know about that. But, nevertheless, we're just trying to slow and calm the traffic down as much as we can. We got another one on the way, and we're just looking forward to using those devices to make our town safe. Thank you so much.
Very good. Thank you for that effort. Any questions for Mr. Moss? Finance and Marketing, Ms. Chapman, please.
Yeah, our financial report for this month, actually last month, we look good in the sewer revenue and in the sanitation revenue. We have improved tremendously in the water fund. We are only in the red $3,650. The general fund revenue, that fund balance is in the red $346,271. And I'm going to defer to Mr. Mishu if he could explain what's going on here.
That's normal. That's normal for now. It's cold months. You're hitting October, November, December, and sometimes portions of January. We'll run in the red during that time, but we're tapping funds that we've set back in prior budget year. So that's why it shows up red this time of year.
All right, thank you very much, and that is my report.
Thank you, Ms. Chapman. Recreation, Mr. Deal, sir.
Yeah, Central Tigers youth football regular season is concluding this week, and we'll be hosting post-season games on October the 18th and October the 24th at Bullock Field. Also, basketball registration runs through the 13th for everyone in Central and Clemson city limits. Then after the 13th, those will go until the 20th of October, until all the teams are filled. Also, I'd like to make a motion. We've been working on Bolick Field and trying to improve the walking track and the areas there. And I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the administrator to enter into the interlocal agreement for cooperative purchasing services. The Bolick Field walking track, to bring that up to a safe and nice place, be about $20,000, $20,885, but would be paid for by a grant. But I would like for us to authorize the administration to be able to enter into the interlocal agreement for cooperative purchasing services.
I second.
Any discussion? I just had a question. Who's the grant agency? Do we,
It's the Pickens County, recreation funding.
any other questions or discussion? Motion on the table is to enter into a cooperative purchasing, interlocal agreement for cooperative purchasing services for improvements to the Bolick Field walking track in the amount of $20,885. Be paid for with a grant. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand, please. Thank you. Anything further?
That's all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Enterprise, Mr. Holliday, sir.
Yes, sir. 186 work orders for the Water and Sewer Department, down a few. Still doing a heavy load on that. 40 customers were disconnected for non-payment on their water, and 37 were reconnected, which is a close figure, getting better. Only 3 that didn't pay, so that's good. Sanitation Department and the residential commercial operate on a normal schedule for months of September, so things are looking pretty good in that area. We thank our workers. They work hard and dedicated to the job. We appreciate them. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Tourism and Economic Development, Mr. Hayes, please.
Yes. So first, I wanted to make an announcement. It's not on the agenda. October 29th, from 1 to 5 p.m., Downtown Central will be hosting the Trick or Train on Main Street. It's going to be a family-friendly event to celebrate things all fall. So we've combined kind of the train theme of our town along with some fall festival activities. We'll have live music, costume contests, kids entertainment, axe throwing. Just another opportunity for us to generate pedestrian traffic and make Central a destination so that people will invest their money here, get to know the unique attributes of this town. So I wanted to make that announcement. You guys spread the word. Catherine Brooks has been influential in getting that started and spearheading that. I don't know where we stand on sponsors. Are we still soliciting sponsors, Catherine?
We will still take money from anyone.
So if you know anyone or anyone present is able to sponsor the event, we definitely appreciate it. Like I said, it's a good thing for us as far as economic development and kind of fostering togetherness in the community.
If I could just interrupt, and sorry, Catherine, did you have anything you wanted to say on that? Excuse me for jumping in there.
No,
Anything
I think
additional?
I mean, it's looking good. We're excited. I think it'll be a good family type event, and hopefully we'll have a good turnout.
Great. Didn't mean to interrupt there.
Thank you. Thank you. The other item on the agenda, the request for the Christmas tree. Based on discussion with council, we've decided to table this for now, just based on the timing of the request in lieu of the fastly approaching holidays. So we'll have further discussion on that. That's all I have.
Very good. Any questions for Mr. Hayes? Any news business we need to discuss, Mr. Michaud?
No.
Any old business?
No.
Introduction and consideration of new ordinances, policy, proclamation, and resolutions. We have a resolution number 10-2022 road. This is a resolution for taking possession of a parcel of land on Wintink Road. Mr. Mishu, may I ask you to just briefly explain the issue here?
The issue, Wintink goes all the way through Miss Davis's property. It only affects her right now, and Wintink used to go across 123 before 123 was there and connected somewhere else, so it did have a destination. But when 123 was built, didn't have a destination, the county stopped maintaining it because it was just on one person's property. So what has occurred is a little section of Wintink separates Miss Davis from getting to her property legally. So the county has agreed to take that little section, which is about the size of this desk, if we would agree to take over Wintink that is on her property. So if anything ever happens to Wintink, so far as being developed, the developer is going to upgrade the road to where it's usable for whatever he does with it. So I don't think we're going to be out anything, or it's not going to cost us anything. It's just we've agreed to do this, and the county will maintain up to Miss Davis's property is what it comes down to.
With that explanation, I will entertain a motion.
I move that we adopt resolution 1010-2022 road.
Second.
Motion on the table is to adopt resolution 1010-2022 road. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand, please. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna take a deep breath for this next one. Let's talk about construction noise.
gotta do
Ms.
purchasing.
Bauer says no.
You gotta do purchasing first, sorry.
Oh, well, you were absolutely right then. I got a little excited there to talk about construction noise. That's right. That's right. Thank you. First reading of ordinance 11-14-2022, amendments from section 13.5-1 of the town ordinance related to purchasing. Can you, Mr. Mishu, again, can you just explain the differences and the changes that we are highlighting here?
Basically, the changes are, it's going to give staff the option to use these companies that go through the bidding process, kind of like the state procurement does. State procurement does the same thing. We're allowed to dovetail onto state procurement because they've done all the work. They've already vetted the companies and gotten the lowest, most responsible bidder. These companies have come out and started doing it. They've probably been doing it for probably about 10 years, as I've heard of it. So one of the staff members had asked me to look into it, and we looked into it together. And I called the municipal association, and municipalities are also using these companies that already have done the bidding. So that'll just be another resource. We look at state contract whenever we need something. Sometimes it works for us, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes they don't have what we need. And this will be the same. We'll do the same thing for us. It's kind of like when Councilman Dill requested the walking track. That came from that company that had already gotten bids. So tonight, I ask you to give Tom permission to use this company that's already been vetted by the corporation so that he can proceed. And we just want to put it in the procurement code to give us another option.
We're essentially cutting out the middleman and letting them do the bidding process for us.
Kind of, sort of. The state, we dovetail on state contracts sometimes. It gives us another option to look at before we go through the bidding process. One thing that we do routinely get off a state contract is our trucks from Public Works. It's a state contract, and you can't touch the prices because they're selling in bulk. They're selling to the entire state government, and most municipalities dovetail on it too. That'll give us another source to look at before we go through the bidding process.
If that's it, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we adopt ordinance 11-14-2022, amendments to section 13.5-1 of the town ordinance on first reading.
Second.
Motion's been seconded on an ordinance 11-14-2022 amendment, section 13.5-1 of the town ordinance related to purchasing agreements. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand, please. Thank you. Now let's talk about construction noise. Tonight we have, in work session last week, we have been back and forth on this issue a number of times and decided that the best course of action is to take the three options, four if you consider the option of not changing anything, and look at three different options for how to handle construction-related noise, when we allow it, when we don't allow it. So these three are on the agenda for tonight, and they have various provisions. So let me just go through those very quickly. Option 1 would allow construction sounds from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and construction sounds allowed on Sunday from noon until 8 p.m. That's option 1. Option 2 is we would allow construction sounds from 8 p.m. to, or 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Sunday. And the third option is construction sounds are allowed Monday through Saturday only from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So those are the three options that are under discussion and for potential vote tonight. We will take each of these in order. Beginning with Ordinance 11-14-2022, amendment to section 1149 of building operations, option 1. Again, to remind everyone, that option is Monday through Saturday, construction sounds are allowed from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and on Sunday from noon until 8 p.m. That is option 1.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
before we vote, may I speak?
Yes, sir.
So, I'm ready to put this to bed, much like most of you guys. I'm tired of talking about it. In thinking about this ordinance and our options here, I know there's been a lot of noise about noise ordinance, pun intended. The inception of noise ordinances was to create a framework so that when people were annoyed by noise by their neighbors, we could use our law enforcement to go out and be a neutral party and try to create an amicable situation to quiet the noise so that people can live at peace. This noise about this noise ordinance has snowballed to a variety of different directions beyond the original intent of what a noise ordinance is intended to do. Before we vote, I just wanted to just offer caution. Some of the options here, although they're generically targeting large commercial developers, it puts everyone in the crosshairs, right? Not just Great Southern Homes or Wintink Development, but businesses that operate within our town limits are also in the crosshairs of this. Also citizens who utilize contractors to do renovations on their own property. And we have to be very careful not to target a developer and not have it equitably applied to everyone else. So I'm just saying that to say that I think we've had conversations with the South Carolina Municipal Association to say, basically, this is the ordinance that we have. It has to be applied to everyone, not just developers. So it is a very slippery slope to, and the economic impact to businesses that currently operate in town of this type. It is a very slippery slope. We've talked about restricting work on Sundays, and some of you were here when I made it very personal to me that I don't have the option to pick what day off I get during the week. And if I want to do some work that creates noise, I want to be able to do that on my day off, and sometimes that only day off is Sunday. So I'll choose to go to church and choose to do that work in my yard or on my property as therapy that day. I'll also say I've been called by a couple of pastors who pastor churches in this town. One of those churches spend their Sundays, they meet on Sunday evenings, they spend their Sunday during the day often doing construction type projects for citizens who are in need in this community. I have participated in some of those projects. The construction noise articulated in this ordinance is some of the noise that they make when they go and love on people in places like the alley and the Mill Hill. There's been decks renovated, entire floors ripped out, walls put in for citizens who are in need, free of charge from a church in this community. I was going to ask that pastor to come and speak, but I'm not in the business of charging an angry mob to come in here and us fight. I wanted to represent them, and this is how I'm doing it. So I just wanted to offer those points to you guys before we vote. I understand that noise is a problem. I lived in Hidden Valley when they were still building homes, and yes, I was annoyed by the homes, right? The music, the sound of, air hammers and all that at 10 o'clock at night, yeah, I get it. But it didn't last forever. And there were a couple of times I was able to walk down and actually talk to them and say, hey, can you cut the music down? I'm trying to sleep. And they oblige, right? So when we vote on this, consider it a broadsword, that you're gonna cut your very neighbor's knees off, as well as some of these larger developers. You're gonna remove the ability of a church, a couple of churches who, in our community, who love on people better than I've seen. They spend their Sundays in the morning working on homes, on the needs of folks in our community. So consider all that. There's not a perfect ordinance out here, right? We're going to have to come up with something that is best for all, and it's not going to be perfect for any individual. There's no perfect ordinance out there. We can't achieve perfection in this, but I would ask that we be careful. The legal ramifications of us restricting a workday can be very damning. So I appreciate the time. I appreciate all the feedback from the citizens over the last several weeks and a couple of months. It's heard, and I've heard all angles of this, but we have to be equitable in our approach and how we govern in this town. And this is an example of it. This is where we start. That's all.
Anything further before we get started? So since one other council member admitted to violating the ordinance, I'm going to admit to violating the ordinance myself. So a careless driver took out my mailbox. A lot of you folks know that. And this
Sure they were careless?
They were pretty careless, yeah. From reading.
Well, I thought it might have been intentional.
No.
Okay,
That's,
okay. All right.
from reading the police report, I can safely assume that they were careless. This weekend, I got my circular saw out and rebuilt my mailbox, knowing the entire time I was doing it, I was violating town code. So that's on the record, that the mayor of the town violated the town code. What struck me is that, and this is going to sound extraordinarily naive, but what struck me is that my neighbor, whose name I know is Mike, and the neighbor across the street, at any point, if either of those gentlemen would have come down to me and said, "Hey, my kid are sleeping. This is bothering me. Would you quit sawing right now?" And I would have done that. And so someone said a few weeks ago that can we apply common sense to this, to a situation where we can take that approach, to know who our neighbors are and kindly ask them to cut it down, because at the end of the day, construction noise is not created equal. My table saw, my circular saw, is not the same as the construction of a 100-home housing development. Those are two very different things. So I would just say that will explain my vote tonight on these options. So I think it's a commentary on the state of the world we are right now, that we don't feel like we can go to our neighbors and have civil conversations. We've talked a lot about civility recently, and have civil conversations among our neighbors about how best to handle issues like this. I just think it's disappointing that we have to enact legislation and laws to govern what maybe could be common sense. Again, I recognize that sounds naive, but that is my stance and where I'm coming from on this. Anything further before we get started?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to suggest, I don't know if it's written in here or not, I haven't read it carefully, but on the third one, we can use common sense. If you got an emergency, it don't take but 30 minutes to an hour, you're free to do that anytime. I would think reasonable hours, unless you're bothering your neighbors. If your neighbors complain, then stop it and try to do it the next day or whenever. But I don't think on a Sunday or any other day that you would be forbidden to do an emergency type situation, plumbing, mailbox, what have you, is my opinion on it. I don't know if it's written in there that way or not.
Yeah, we do. There is an emergency provision, so that's well said, Mr. Holliday. There is an emergency provision, so I think that takes care of that, and I think that will work well. If there is nothing further, we will move to ordinance number 1114-2022, amendment section 11-49 of the town ordinance, building operations, option 1. We are voting on a revised ordinance that would allow construction sounds Monday through Saturday from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and on Sunday, construction sounds allowed from noon until 8 p.m. That is what we are currently on the table right now, and I will entertain a motion. Is there a motion on the table? Hearing no motion, we will next move to first reading of ordinance 1114-2022, amendment to section 1149 of building operations. This is option 2. Option 2 would allow construction sounds Monday through Sunday from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Sunday, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. I will entertain a motion.
I move that we adopt ordinance 1114-2022, amendments, section 11-49 of the town ordinance, building operations option 2 on first reading.
Second.
Motion on the table is to approve on first reading ordinance 1114-2022, section 1149 of the town ordinance, Option number 2, Monday through Sunday, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor, raise your right hand, please. All those opposed? Did you get that? To that end, I move to table option 3, ordinance 1114-2022, option 3, which would be Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I will move to table that for now. Next item on the agenda is consideration of ordinances and policies already in possession of council. I don't believe we have anything there. Reports from the administration and mayor. Mr. Administrator, anything for us tonight?
I just want to mention one thing. This happened after we had the agenda done. I don't know if you heard, but the trash truck did catch on fire on Main Street. I see a surprised look on Harry's face. He might be the only one that didn't know. Word travels fast in a small town. They picked up something somewhere on that end of town. It was, I don't know if it was at SWU or on the way to SWU. It was commercial, the commercial truck.
It was the last stop.
It was the last stop? Okay. He ended up stopping right there where the concrete and plaster is and was able to dump the trash on the ground. And the fire department put it out. So once they got the fire out, then they loaded the trash back up. So I know you may have heard it. If you did, it's happened and it was true. I've been here almost 17 years and I've never heard of a trash truck catching fire. But I'm just glad we had a driver that saw it and was smart enough to pull over and realize what was going on. He didn't do very little damage to the truck. Not even enough to report to the insurance company, so we dropped our claim for that because we were able to take care of it very quickly. All right, that's all I had. Any questions from council?
Yeah, just for people's edification, that was the old truck. That's not the new one, the quote unquote.
Yes,
new one we just bought.
that is the old truck.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Philip, could you express the council's appreciation to the driver for thinking quickly, pulling over? I mean, I happened to be going to work that morning and saw it and
Yeah.
got diverted and stuff. I just thought, if that had happened in the middle of town, 500 yards more or something like that. So I would be in favor, if the rest of the council is, for you to express our appreciation to the driver for being
Yeah, I'd
safe
like
and
you,
quick thinking.
I'll definitely request that you express your appreciation by vote. He pulled off in a safe area.
Right.
I mean, we leased that property, so we weren't gonna do any damage to somebody else's property having to dump the trash. And like I say, he was smart enough to dump the trash knowing that was the source of the fire to save the truck. And even an old truck's worth $150,000.
Well, he also emptied the fire extinguisher before dumping the trash, like he tried to put it out.
Tried to put it out.
Days before he had to dump it.
Okay.
Yeah. He said that we should be very thankful that it happened the way it was, or he probably would not be here. But he could see the fire in his rearview mirror.
Yeah.
May I ask that you draft a resolution for us to take up at the next council meeting?
We'll do it.
A resolution in honor of that gentleman.
Thank you.
All right.
Good call.
Any other questions?
Yes, kind of related. The individual who was injured from the needle incident, do you have any updates on him that you're at liberty to share?
I'm going to let Susan answer that question because she's the one that handles those kinds of things. She's the frontline person.
He is doing well. He's finished the medication, and he still has to go back for some more testing for up to 6 months. But so far, everything's been really good. So he's feeling a lot better now.
Okay, thank you.
And he's back at work.
Yes. been back
Yeah.
at work.
He's back at work.
Thankful for
That's
that.
always a good sign.
Thank you.
Thanks for asking.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions from council?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. I would like to make a suggestion.
Please.
If you want to verbalize the resolution, she can then type it up for you to sign later. If you want to do that.
I'm a much better writer than I am a talker, so how about I get you something to write?
Oh, she'll
Okay.
do it. I was just saying, if you want to do it tonight, you can verbalize a resolution, and then she can type up whatever you said, and you can sign it then. But we can wait till next month.
All right, let's do this. I'll make a motion that we empower the mayor to write a letter on behalf of town council expressing our deep appreciation to the driver who took such care and swift thinking to prevent larger damage and minimize cost and damage.
I'll second that motion. You got your paper?
I'm writing as fast as I can.
Okay. All those in favor of that, please raise your right hand, understanding we do have a recusal. Thank you, that's unanimous. Anything further? I have two items. We have enjoyed a couple of presentations about developing the Broad Street area and beautifying that and making it more walker-friendly, maybe some sidewalks and some recreation facilities there to continue to develop that portion of downtown. As a result, I am going to appoint a committee to explore those options that I will be participating in, along with Ms. Bowers, Councilman Hayes, Ed Martin, Catherine Brooks, Miranda Howard, and Samantha Wood. So just bringing you up to speed on that. For those of you also, any questions on that? No, we've discussed that. We've also discussed the ongoing issues with some of the drain pond issues on and around Berry Street, and we are looking at requesting some funds in the amount of $4,500 in ARPA funds to close Berry Street and drain that pond to help out some of the folks that live on those properties. So I will make a motion that we spend $43,500 from ARPA funds to close Berry Street and do some remediation, including pond drainage in that area.
Second.
Motion on the table is to request $43,500 from ARPA funds to close Berry Street and drain pond mitigation in that area. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. And thank you. Any further things from council? We do have a contractual, legal, and personnel issues to discuss, so pursuant to South Carolina Code of Law, Section 30-4-70A, legal issues, Section 30-4-70A2. Without objection, we are adjourned. We will take a recess for executive session. Thank you. Susan, does this need to be in blue? Does this need to be in blue? It needs to be in blue.
I don't think so. Considering the rest of it's in pencil.
You witnessed my signature.